Welcome. This is A Curious Learning Curve, and I'm your host, Jenn Grewe. This is a podcast where we talk about higher education and teaching and everything in between. On this season, we're chatting about online education. How do we engage our students in online environments and help to increase our instructor presence? Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy the episode. This is Jenn Grewe, and today I am here with Chad Mano, who is in the School of Computing at Utah State University. Hi, Chad. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am curious. We were just talking about this before we started recording, and your department name changed. When did that happen?
Yeah, just over the summer with a lot of the changes happening at the university, the Department of Computer Science is no more, and we're now the School of Computing, and we're really excited about that as a chance to have a new start and new beginning and new vision, so it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. You don't often see these name changes. They don't come around that often, so it's fun that you got to experience that.
I'll admit it's caused a lot of anxiety on some people in the department, and I've tried to say this is the chance of a career. How often in a career do you get to define something like this? And we're all part of it. So for me, it's fun. For a lot, it's fun. For some, it's pretty stressful.
Yeah, I bet. And then there's the element of having to switch everything over on websites and on just everything that we have that is labeled.
Yeah. In fact, we just moved buildings. We had a building renovation. So we have these great big signs. We have a 9-foot by 40-foot mural that says computer science on it. So we get to change a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of work for someone. Yep, Chad, I'm really excited to have you here today. You and I have had conversations in the past about your online class. And one of the things that I wanted to have you talk more about is video announcements. With video announcements, I know some people do them, some people don't do them in their online class. And we can talk about that, whether to add them or not to add them at a later point. But what I'm really interested in talking to you more about is what to put in a video announcement. I think a lot of people are a little bit intimidated by video announcements. And then when you finally come around to, yes, I'm going to do this, people can be a little uncertain on, now, what do I include in these? Do I just recap what's going on in the course? Can you talk a little bit about that in your process?
Yeah. So I think initially, if you're new to creating an online course, you probably recorded a ton of videos that is really just lectures and lessons and conveying knowledge as a teacher. And doing announcements is totally different because you might want to recap real quick. This week you're learning about this topic and stop there because all the content's already recorded. But what I've found is that it's a chance to make the class more personal, especially for an online class, which is super impersonal for students. They can feel alone. Rather than just sending out a text-based announcement once a week or something like that, I think recording makes it more personal, and then the content should be as personal as possible. And one thing I talk about is the weather, which seems funny, and one of the strategies behind that is they know it's up to date. They're not like, this is the announcement from fall 3 years ago, week 3. I'll talk about an Aggie game, especially I feel like in the School of Computing, we have a lot to, if you look at stereotypical computer geek sitting at home doing their homework, and I'll make announcements, hey, don't forget there's a big Aggie game tomorrow, and I try to encourage them to do that type of thing. But overall, I think it's just non-academic. They're real people. They're experiencing things on campus, and engaging that way, I think, has been worthwhile.
I love that. I love that idea. And I love that you talk about the weather. That's such a regular conversation starter in so many instances. So I love that you add that in. In terms of adding your own personality and your own personal touch, how much do you share? It sounds like you do talk about upcoming events, what's going on currently with the weather, but do you ever share kind of some, I'm sure not too personal details, but what kind of information might you share about yourself in these video announcements?
Oh, I probably, just generally speaking, I probably share too much. Like students have known when I'm installing sprinklers at my house and things like that. I try to do announcements every Monday, so they wake up and are ready for the week. Sometimes I just get busy, so it's Tuesday, and I'll mention, man, yesterday was really packed. I had this meeting, or I wasn't feeling well. I think that the key thing is coming off as a person who has a busy life at work, a busy life at home, and you don't need to share, oh, he's at the doctor, here's my ailment type of thing. But let people know that you have regular things. Oh, my kid was sick. Sorry for the delay in getting this out. And anything to personalize it like that is great, I think.
I love that you're sharing some of that information and details because it really is relatable in a lot of different ways. And then students can really start to see you as a person. What sort of things, I mean, if somebody's listening to this and they want to use some of these ideas and share and create video announcements, making them more personalized, is there just a short list of topics or ideas? I know you mentioned a few things, projects you have going on in the house, but what are some other kind of general ideas that people might choose to start with in terms of adding that personalization to their announcements?
Yeah, so I would say in order to make things seem free-flowing and personal, when you're recording, it takes practice. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with writing things down that you hear. Maybe when you're just having regular conversation with someone, think about it later and say, oh, I talked about the weather, we talked about our kids, we talked about this, and planning it out. So I think it should sound like very casual, but that doesn't mean it's off the cuff. When I first started, I would actually write down things because I didn't want to forget. So I'd have notes, but try and make it sound personal. One thing that I just popped in my head that I should add, with certain topics in computer science that even if it's an intro class, rather than recap, sometimes I said, when I first learned this, here's how I felt. So it was a difficult topic. It takes a lot of practice and repetition. Don't worry about it. I've seen lots of students over the years really struggle with this, but it's because you're supposed to, but give it time. And to try and, again, humanize the content, let them know that it wasn't easy for me and wasn't easy for others. And there's things like that. Or this topic is especially fun because you're going to apply it later. And yeah, but anything, sometimes I wonder how many kids actually listen to these. So really anything that makes it enjoyable for you, makes it personal in the course content or outside, but totally fine to plan it out. Nobody's going to listen and say, oh, that sounded really scripted or anything like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking, because that is always a point of thought, is sometimes professors will record things and you think, how many of my students are watching this? And sometimes you get some anecdotal evidence that they are. I know I've had students say, oh, I saw you were talking about this in the announcement or this in that video that you recorded or something in that, or they'll reference it in some way and then kind of gives me that assurance.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody's actually listening to this. But I wondered have you ever thought about trying to track that in some way? Or maybe there's a way to say, hey, if you're listening to this announcement, send me a quick something or another. Have you ever thought about doing something like that? Have you ever done that in the past?
I haven't done it. I thought about it, and sometimes it scares me. Like some of the confirmation I get about the announcements is meeting students like at the grocery store or something. Because in my online classes, the course content, you don't see my face ever. And it's just screen recording, a lot of demos. So it works in computer science, just tons of demos. They're looking at code, looking at the screen. And then the only time they see my face is the announcements. And lots of reasons for that. But when I see students like at the store and they recognize me, it has to be from the announcements because they haven't heard my voice or anything like that, right? So I get some confirmation that way. But in Canvas, if you're really interested, if you're recording the videos directly into Canvas or uploading them into Canvas rather than having a link to Google Docs or something, you can go in and look at the stats and see who's viewed it and things like that. So if you're interested, there are ways to do that built into Canvas.
So that's great to know. I actually did not realize that. Do you remember off the top of your head, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, where someone might go in Canvas to look at that? Is it under settings? Is it?
So if you go over to My Media, you can see everything you recorded. And then I think you can link to stats there. There's a little, like a bar graph icon or something like that. And I think that you can also see it. There's an analytics menu item somewhere in the top right when you're on some certain screen. I'll tell you that I feel like I know Canvas better than most. And then when I realized how little I know about it, this is a plug for CIDI, by the way, the group on campus that helps faculty improve their courses. There's a ton of features in there that are not used enough, I don't think, including by me.
Yeah, I agree. I think every time I learn something new, you mentioned CIDI. CIDI is the group at Utah State University that really helps with those technology Canvas support for our instructors on campus. We're really lucky to have a group
Yes,
like
they're
that.
amazing.
Not all of my colleagues throughout the United States, the world, have a group like that. And so sometimes people are stumbling along and trying to figure it out for themselves, and that's got to be really tough. And so I'm always really grateful for when I can talk to one of these individuals and they give me such great ideas, or they tell me about some feature that I had no idea about before.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, years ago when we started the online courses in our department, I was kind of leading it. And so I spent a ton of time with CIDI. And a lot of the things I do, like these video announcements, that started with their suggestion. The not recording my face was through them as well. And I'll just mention why, is because we try and use the recordings for multiple years. And I don't want students to watch those videos and meet me in person and be like, oh, what in the world happened to you? The years are not treating you well.
Oh my goodness. You're funny. I know. I on occasion look at these sometimes in our faculty different accounts that we log into. There's these older pictures of us that we can see, and I know every time I stumble across one of those, I'm a little taken aback. So we get older. So.
We had one faculty member that if you go to the Wayback Machine online and look at old department websites, she had the same picture for, I swear it was 19 years.
Wow. That's funny. That's great. Chad, is there anything else that you want to share about this topic or any other topic related to online teaching that you haven't gotten a chance to talk about or share?
Yeah, I guess just one thing I'd like to say, I know a lot of faculty are hesitant or scared about doing online. It's so different. It is very different. But there are ways to make it still rewarding as far as getting the interaction with students. And you can be very proactive. One thing that's different is in a regular face-to-face class, you're forced to be there with the students. In an online class, you need to purposely do this. It doesn't naturally happen. But I've felt great personal satisfaction with doing the online classes. Kind of updating and improving them, I think, is easier in an online class than a face-to-face where you're going to wait 5 months before you have a chance to do that lecture again. If you want to fix something, you just fix it right away and it's ready to go. So yeah, I would say if you have a chance to do an online class, jump in and do it. See if it's something you like. You may be surprised. Tons of support if you're here at Utah State. But it's been a great experience for me.
I love that. Okay, Chad, another thing I might be surprising you with today. But I like to ask all my guests with this series one kind of random question at the end. And is there something interesting, unique, or really boring about you that you would be willing to share with us?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's lots of boring stuff. I'm a computer geek at heart, so I do fit in that crowd. I'll tell you this. I am the self-appointed chair of the School of Computing Party Planning Committee. So I like doing that type of stuff, bringing our students together, bringing our faculty together. And sometimes people bring that up. Oh, you're really good at this stuff. You like doing this stuff. And my response is, and this goes back to, I keep forgetting his name, but the book, The Last Lecture, where the author talks about being the best speaker in the computer science department. So being the most outgoing person in this computer science department is like being the tallest of the seven dwarves. So that's my claim.
I love that. This is going to date me a little bit, but as you were talking, I was thinking the party planning committee from the television show The Office.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, I just love that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here with me and chatting and giving such great ideas for those listening that they will be able to use in their own classrooms. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. It's been a fun time.